Good morning. Oh, good morning. Sometimes, good morning, good morning. Sometimes things can feel really urgent. Gotta strike while the iron's hot. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes we have to step back and figure out if what we're doing is the right thing. Privilege to really know. So let me tell you about some stuff this morning. My wife had shared an article. And that's pretty much what it said. It talked about how it talked about folks in the Bible like Abraham and other people that acted on faith and obedience, and what they were doing wasn't necessarily logical. And that is often true. And I told her last night, after thinking about this and that concept troubling me, always wanting to be prudent and use wisdom in making good decisions. I told her last night that I think that article needs rewritten with the title "Wisdom Should Never Be an Excuse from Following God." We should never use wisdom as an excuse to not obey God. So when it comes to things like, should we move out of our rental home, and when it comes to things like that, we don't have clear direction there. We have the principles of wanting to be good stewards of what we have, and to try to get out of the debt situation, all of that. Wisdom. But apart from trying to make wise decisions, we got nothing. God hasn't asked us to leave our home and go live the RV life or something. We're just trying to find the cheapest possible means to own what we live in, and what happened was we were thinking we could sell the land that we have in Asheville, North Carolina, and buy a used but very nice-ish motorhome, and at least would be, living in something that was decent. As we continue to learn, we realize that there are motorhomes and RVs in general that are 3 and 4 and 5 years old that have mold problems, leaking problems, for various reasons: poor construction, poor maintenance, poorly taken care of, all of that. So anyway, we go to look at this 1994 Holiday Rambler, 31-footer, gas, has propane and all the hookups, of course. Lived in by what appeared to be a single dude, a little older, not too old, just fresh retirement age. Nice fella, carpenter, a nice big beard. That's always a plus. No patchouli oil in the beard, but you got to take what you can get as far as the wins. He had a nice big beard. Anyway, we'll check out the whole thing, and in really great condition. I mean, even to the stained and still squishy. Not like the floor was squishy though. Like there was resistance too. We stepped heavy. We looked all over. It was in great condition. Everything was pretty much great about it, except, and it would be 2 years tops. There's a lot of flow. I can check out a comment. Good morning. Good morning. Pretty light in the chat. I don't know if that's for my sake or you're doing other stuff. But that's fine. Most of the time I expect you guys to chat amongst yourselves. Nothing wrong with that. So we checked this Holiday Rambler out, and I didn't know how much he'd be willing to move around with his price. He's an old school kind of guy, and he expects a cash transaction, full cash, because he's going to be going to Michigan or Illinois or Indiana, somewhere up north. He bought a home sight unseen that he's going to fix and flip. And I mean, that's what he's doing this summer. He's like, if I sell this, and he's leaving in a week and a half. So that's technically how long he has to sell the RV or not. Because if he doesn't sell it, he doesn't care. At least that's what he says. And I mean, it makes sense. So he was willing to come down slightly on the price. He was willing to drop off $400 if that helped, in his words. So technically that amount of dropping off covers the title change and the registration and the tag, because it's about $400 to take care of all that extra stuff. So anyway, and then there's, I don't know how the sales tax thing works on a private sale. I've never paid that before on other private buys. I bought a truck once, and a car, and both of those times there wasn't any sales tax situation. So maybe that's only when it's an established. I don't know how that works. I was just reading about all the related fees. So all that to say, I've been working a lot. I could almost afford it, but even if I did, then I wouldn't have. Literally, I would not have anything to then buy groceries, or I'd have to wait until next Wednesday. It would create some difficulties. I wouldn't be able to fuel up. So all of that is the sort of stuff that makes you go, well, is this just not a wise decision? But then questioning the wisdom of something, though it has value to, it's good to think about these things, figuring out what's best. There's always this curiosity of where faith and trusting fits in, because for those of you that know the story, I moved 1,000 miles down to Florida on faith that things would work out, into a home that we couldn't afford, $900 a month, plus rent. Plus rent, plus electricity and utilities, working out to be about $1,200 a month, and it was the most we had ever spent. But I trusted that God would provide a job, and that we would be able to make it. And we did. And then that fell apart. And now we can't. But sometimes you wonder, well, are things the way they are because I'm supposed to move on and go somewhere else and figure out how to make things work elsewhere? Or is it because I'm supposed to remain faithful that something will work out financially with where we're living? And as far as our our human wisdom goes, it only makes sense to reduce expenditures, no matter what. That's kind of where we're coming from, thought-wise. It would only be good. It would only be advantageous to reduce our expenses. And if we owned what we lived in, then we only had to concern ourselves with taxes and utilities. And then, as far as an RV goes, the cost of renting a spot plus the utilities and all that. But by checking all that out, and even with insurance factored in, it would appear that costs would be reduced by about no less than $500. No less than. That's $500 a month that I'm referring to. Getting your expenses down by $6,000 a year might not seem like that much to some of you. Maybe it seems like quite a bit to others. Here's what's really crazy. That's still not enough at my current income level, which means that there's not just a problem with our expenses, although $1,800 a month before food, that's a problem too. When you're only making $2,000 a month, that's a problem. Oh, and then like a lot of people are like, yeah, but you should be with that kind of income level, you probably get a bunch of food stamps. Well, no, because I recently worked a bunch of overtime, and now they think that I'm a baller, and they have changed our food stamp thing down to $100 a month because they think that I'm making $50K because I had a couple of big paychecks that are now over with, and I have to wait for 4 paychecks back at the normal level in order to appeal that. But the point is, I get angry every single time I even think about assistance. Part of that anger comes from not wanting to be associated with it. It is humbling, I guess, to have those needs. And and then other people argue and are like, well, it's not a need. You just get by with what you can. Well, if it weren't that, then I would definitely have to go to a food pantry regularly. And now, at the point of them reducing it the way that they have, it's a serious problem. Serious problem. And yet, we have set aside this money from tax refund, from church assistance, and from YouTube, and from overtime. And we have set aside all this money, not to increase our lifestyle, but to decrease it, and to be able to not be in a situation where we have to be actually homeless. So we are trying to be as responsible as we possibly can, suffering in the short term, so that we can be more flexible, so to speak, in the long term. So the 94 Rambler was viable. The bedding situation was ridiculous because it was a jackknife couch that the girls would have ended up sleeping on, and then a table, the kitchen table conversion to the bed, which the boy would sleep on, and then the bed in the back. And the thing about the kitchen table bed, you have to unattach, do all this stuff, and then you got to do this every day. And every day. Just new lifestyle change, stuff like that. But it was just so small that even our 3-year-old, I don't think he'd make it on it for more than a couple of years. So I mean, it'd be fine for now. We're not trying to get queen size beds for everybody. My wife and I have a full size bed right now in our house. One, because we have never wanted to take the cut in cost from the larger sizes, even though when we've stayed at like hotels and stuff, mostly her, but the bigger beds are nice, and king size beds, it is nice to be able to just be all spread out and stuff. But even now, since our marriage, for the last 9 years, we've had a full size bed. We've replaced it once with IKEA. What year was that? 15. And now it's going on 4 years. We have a IKEA latex mattress, and I like it. We even put a topper on it to make it soft. My wife is the princess in the pea. I don't know that a bed exists that she would approve. Once upon a time, she had one of those, the $5,000 bed, or 50, 70, 7,500. I don't know. The really expensive, maybe they're called Select Comfort. Your number and all that, select number. I don't know. She had one of those that she liked a lot, but I've heard a lot of people that have had those, kind of a nightmare, repairs, durability, quality issues, problems. Anyway, moving on. Good morning, everybody. Glad you're here. I don't mean to ramble. So, a video I did, straight up chilling, like 2 nights ago, I suppose. I show you guys some necklaces. Galaxy is called for, but if anybody wants Galaxy, then just let me know. If you want any of the necklaces that I showed you that my wife makes, please just send me an email at operationbabylandlord@gmail.com. operationbabylandlord@gmail.com, or my personal email if you know it. And if you know my PayPal, then you know my Gmail. PayPal.me/DevinJump, DEVINJUMP. And I don't say my email that's at Gmail because, and it has no periods and no dashes. And the reason I don't say it all together is because of the AI bots. I get enough spam as it is. So anyway, if you want a necklace, please let me know, and I'll get it to you as soon as you pay, and all that good stuff. So my video cut out yesterday morning. I was talking about the idea of converting a reefer truck, tractor trailer, or, I mean, hypothetically, it could be one of those cargo van, reefer van things. But even a tractor trailer, I mean, I'm just wondering if you can raise the temperature of a refrigerator truck to like 72 degrees instead of 25 degrees or 15 degrees. I don't know how cold they keep them. But I was just wondering if they could run at like 72 or 74. You know what I mean? Like on the lowest possible setting or the highest possible setting, depending on which way you're looking at it. I was just curious because converting one of those into a home would be kind of cool because they're extremely well insulated already. So there's that. Anyway. So what am I doing? I'm trying to figure it out. Whether or not we are going to find an amazing deal right now, because there's another camper that we want to look at, similar price range. Instead of a 94 Class A, it's a 1989 Class C that has been renovated from what it appears. And sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes that can be whitewashing to cover up something that is wrong. But the one thing I did not do that's a recommendation when you're checking out an RV is I did not blatantly get on my back and look underneath the RV. It was late. It was like 6:45 or something. Yeah, about 6:45 when we got there. So the sun was going down. But I did get up on top of it and walk around the roof of the 94 Holiday Rambler. And, it had an oak branch that went through the roof, like about that big of a hole that was repaired like 12 years ago. And he's kept up with all this stuff. The windshield, center divider windshield, the one of the pieces of rubber on the outside, not the inside, had like started to shrink. So he had put this black tar-like putty. I don't know what it was, but it looked like the type of repairs I've seen on buses and stuff like that. I mean, he's a contracting carpenter, and he took really well care of this RV that he's had for about 15 years. And it was obvious that he had taken really great care of it. It's interesting. It's the transition from a house to an RV that's really seems big. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out, am I doing it now or am I doing it when I thought I was going to do it, to try and wait until next spring? Because there's other things like selling most of all of our furniture and all of that stuff that would be a process. Our lease ends and would be renewed this June. So that's the question, to renew our lease or not. And if we're not, then it's a massive crunch time. And if we are renewing our lease, then Either way, obviously it all involves faith, but it's really hard to know. So oftentimes we're making decisions, big decisions and stuff. We seek godly counsel in the body of Christ, and we talk to each other, and we pray, and we depend on. After all of that, we depend on the opening and closing of doors. Some people would call that chance and meaningless. Some people would say that we plan out what we think we're going to do, but God is ultimately the one in His providence that directs our steps. So that is what it is. Trying to figure it all out and do what is best. But my wife said that I didn't need to. She did not want me to give dollar amounts regarding our specific needs, or hey, I'm short this amount, like I had said yesterday, to let the providence of God fill the gaps. And I don't disagree with that method. Cryptonites, welcome. Never seen you before, but welcome, Cryptonites. Welcome, everyone else. Oh, this is the worst intersection. Did I ever tell you guys that this intersection? I'm not sure that you can recognize this intersection, but I watched a car wreck here, so I'm kind of paranoid about this left-hand turn because, paranoid, not terrified, just paranoid, appropriately so. There's no light, and there's a blind spot. I mean, somebody's gonna have to be going really, really, really fast because you can, anyway. So we're possibly going to look at the other RV today. Just depends on whether or not they get back to us. The 1989 Winnebago Class C, but it's an 89, 5 years older than the 94 Rambler, and it's a C instead of an A, which is a different experience altogether. But the sleeping situation on the C, based on what we've seen in the pictures, we already know will be better. So, moral of the story is we don't have what we need to do either one of these deals without creating a very financially dangerous situation for ourselves. And is that enough alone to not do it? This is RV world too. There are so many RVs. I see about somewhere between 6 and 10 RVs on the way to work every day, every morning, every night. RVs everywhere. Yeah, the owner finance thing can really be convenient because they can check your credit based on your character and seeing you face to face, and different means than the FICO, different means than the norm, and it can be a little bit more of a relationship as opposed to an algorithm. So It's also hard to get all this stuff figured out when you're working 50 hours a week. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that too. Juggling extreme. Extreme juggling. All right, I'm gonna park across the street this time. Getting here too late. So it's all right. Then I'll read some comments and say goodbye. How about that? Crank it there. All righty. Yeah, Bigby, I emailed you back, dude. Oh, by the way, there's a little tires. I learned that there's a ton of off-gassing from the tires, and you would never want to actually live in that home. I guess there's probably a way to create a barrier on the interior of the home, some type of material that would prevent the gassing, but still, it's kind of creepy gross. Let's see what's going on here with these comments. Yeah, I checked out the 94. The 94 Holiday Rambler. Yeah, Bigby, man. Just I sent you an email, so check out the email. Give it that custom. Yeah, we have given a thought to tiny homes and all that. The fact is, what we have in cash is so small that the only thing that we can get winds up being these 20-plus-year-old RVs. 4 digits, 4 figures. We have less than $10,000. We have about half that. Yeah, Apologia YouTube channel. It's got good stuff. I had listened to Does the Law Still Apply video. It was a really good one. Would I be able to? Yes and no. It would be a much easier commute to this location that I'm currently working at, but I'll be working at the other location. By the end of the year, I'll be back in Pensacola at the main campus, and one of the RV camps that we looked at would literally be 1 mile away, 1.3 miles, but still from the main campus. So it would be extremely convenient. I could bike or whatever. It'd just be really easy. So there's a lot of pros and a whole lot of change. Just drastic, overwhelming changes. And when I say overwhelming, I mean more so psychologically than emotionally. Although it does affect your emotions. Owner finance is when somebody's trying to sell their home, and instead of the person needing to go to the bank, and the bank gives the owner of the home $150,000, the owner says, "All right, pay me 20 or pay me 15, and I'll take payments from you directly." and we'll do 5%, we'll do 10%, we'll do 9%. Um, and you're literally, the owner doesn't get the benefit of getting all the money at once. He has to basically not need the lump sum of money in order to agree to go through with that. And there's different types of owner financing. There's also rent to owns, and those can be really sweet or really terrifying, because if you miss some payments, they just be like, well, that home is no longer yours, and all the equity you thought you had built is all gone. Um, so rent to owns can be a nightmare sometimes, and sometimes it can be a really sweet deal because it's kind of hypothetically the best of both worlds. Zero down owner finance. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'm going to keep on looking into it. But those guys also usually want 2 years of work history, which I don't have. And yeah, got a lot going against me. All right. See you later. Yeah, it can be a good thing. But if you have a terrible buyer that's a flake, it's a risk to the owner too. It's not just a risk. It, Lending and all that stuff always has risk, and how you're going to handle that risk. And sometimes, well, you want to know the person. No, sometimes you don't want to know the person, because sometimes if you know the person, it can be worse. There's certain unrealistic expectations, and well, because we know each other, you let me slide a couple of times. But that's a character situation. Anyway, all right, guys. Contemplative kind of situation. Figure it out. And hopefully I'll give a fun one on the way home. Arrivederci. Much prayer and Bible reading.